Welcome to Yeda Center, where we share knowledge on topics related to management and technology. I am Yael, and I'm happy to have Yehuda Holtzman here with me.
Hi, Yael. It's good to be here.
Today's session is about the customer success function. Let's start with a basic question. What's the essence of the customer success function?
Very simply, this function follows its name, making sure a successful use of the product by the customer.
But I don't understand. Why invest money and energy on this? The customer has evaluated and purchased the product. Why should we care to what level he is using the product?
Well, I can say that with this question you are touching the heart of the matter. But before I address your comment, let me provide a short background. The need for customer success function increases as SaaS, software as a service solutions, which are basically a software subscription model, are becoming more and more common. I'll use this opportunity and invite our listeners to the session discussing the difference between a subscription software license and a perpetual license. In short, when purchasing a perpetual license, the customer acquires the right to use the software forever, while when purchasing a subscription type license, it is valid only for the period the license was paid for, typically 1 month or 1 year. After the subscription period, it's up to the customer to decide whether to renew the subscription or not. In my opening remarks, I mentioned the correlation between the use of SaaS solutions and customer success. I'd like to emphasize that this correlation is very strong for a very simple reason. In a subscription model, the subscriber has to make a decision whether or not to renew the license at the end of each subscription period. From the supplier point of view, at that point in time, he is in a position of losing a customer. And at that point in time, he can't impact the customer too much. The customer decision has basically been made. Whatever impact the supplier wanted to make, he should have made it during the license period and not at the moment of renewal. And this is exactly where customer success function fits in. Customer success has to impact an indirect impact, yet this function by its action should lead the customer to renew his license.
How do you measure the success level of this function?
Overall, according to the license renewal rate. It seems very simple and clear, but there are quite a few complexities to take into account. I will give one example and will not go beyond that in this session, but I do encourage our listeners to hear the session on how to calculate license renewal rate. I highly recommend hearing it for a broader perspective and a more in-depth analysis. So, returning to the example, say we have 10 customers, all need to renew on first day of the year for the simplicity of revenue recognition calculation. 9 customers pay $100 per year, and 1 customer pays $1,000 a year. Total revenue equals 9 times 100 plus 1 times 1,000, a total of $1,900 paid through 10 licenses. Now, let's say that the customer who paid $1,000 did not renew the license, and all 9 who paid $100 each did. The percentage of license renewal after a year is 90%, which is okay. Yet from a revenue aspect, only $900 were renewed out of the 1,900, or 47%. It means that we lost 53% of our revenue, which is not a good scenario.
How is this relationship defined between the successful usage of the product by the customer and the license renewal?
So the basic assumption that guides me is that there is a strong correlation between the level of usage and the license renewal, meaning that the more the customer uses the product, the more dependent his business activity will be on the product, and this dependency will drive him to renew the license. Therefore, it is customer success function responsibility to closely monitor the level of usage and the quality of use.
What do you mean by quality of use?
Quality of use means which functionality is used more often and which less. If, for example, our experience predicts that an average customer will use 10 different functions in a product intensively, and we identify a customer using only, say, 2 functions, this finding indicates that there is a high probability of something going wrong with the usability of the product under a specific scenario used by that customer. The problem may be either due to difficult usability, meaning a UX issue, that's a user experience problem, or there is a real function problem with the product under a specific scenario. UX issues will be typically analyzed and resolved by the product group. Other issues will be analyzed by the quality team. Yet, there are other reasons that are not necessarily related to the product, yet have a critical impact on the usage level. So even if the product is functioning perfectly, there are other reasons that are not dependent on the product, but can be the one that will define the level of its use. And the role of the customer success function is to understand these reasons and to come up with tools that will assist the customer to deal with them. I am convinced that many of our listeners have been in a situation where, on one hand, some customers are intensively using your product, and on the other hand, there are customers who rarely use the product, but they have no complaints about the product. In those cases, there is a probability of finding an external reason, meaning reasons that are not related to us, that is, to the product, but it is the reasons that also limit its usage. If we understand the external variables that have direct impact on our product usage level, we become an expert of our product ecosystem, or if you like, we can serve as consultants to our customers on issues that are not directly related to our product, but directly affect its usage.
Can you provide some examples?
I will provide 2 examples from real scenarios. The first example, and I'm sure many of our listeners experience such a scenario, in this particular case, the software is used in retail chains. But in some retail chains, employees' churn is very high. Now, especially in the smaller stores, in the case the employees who operate the software has left and has not been able to transfer the use of the software to its replacement. In this case, there will be a disconnect.
How did you deal with this situation?
I can say that we have adopted a platform that is based on identifying when a change in usage level occurs. So if a store usage level suddenly dropped, a flag will be raised so that customer success function can inquire for the reason. The role of the platform was, among other things, to identify the change, the drastic reduction in use, and alert, so that the inquiry and response will be done as close as possible to the event itself. In another case, also related to a SaaS application in the retail world, after many investigations, we found that while for other software tools that were part of the product selling process, the store employees received a commission. The commission is against sales they made. Yet, they did not receive any commission for using our application. Our application dealt with a situation in which a customer returned a product that he claimed did not work, and our application tested the returned product and in most cases was able to repair it, or at least determine what is the problem. Let me provide some more background details. When a customer returned a product for repair, the store employees had two options. One option is to run our application so that within 5 minutes the application could decode if there was a problem, and if so, what was the problem. And actually, in 90% of the cases, it could even resolve the problem, since most of the issues were caused by lack of software configuration. The second option for the store employee was to take the returned product and place it in a basket, so that at the end of the day, the product will be sent for repair in an external laboratory, and this process can take 2 weeks until the customer receives the product back. Unfortunately to us, in most of the cases, the store employee placed the product in the basket as he preferred to spend the number of minutes available to try to sell other products to the customers in the shop, and thus increase his commission. Of course, he did not take into account that sending a product for repair has high associated cost to the store, not to mention that the customer who could leave the store within few minutes with a fixed product and will be a much happier customer compared to where now he has to wait 2 weeks. At the same time, I fully understand the employee taking the position he took.
How did you deal with this situation?
In this situation, we built a simple business model that demonstrated to the top management of the retail chains the amount of money they can save, as well as improve their profitability by using our application in their store. I can attest that in less than a year, we have seen a significant improvement in retail chains' processes. The chain have changed their work procedure so that a product cannot be sent for a repair before it was tested by our application. In general, it is important to understand that if you can demonstrate that your product can contribute to the customer revenue or improve its profitability or reduce its operation expenses, then you will be able to receive business or financial decision makers FaceTime. Such discussions are always beneficial, not just for the obvious business opportunity, but also for testing your value proposition.
So, as we discussed, customer success function objective is to ensure higher product usage and increase the subscription renewal rate. We also agreed that since there is a correlation between the level of product usage and license renewal, it's important to monitor the level of use. But there is a challenge here. Mainly in SaaS solutions, we can find ourselves with thousands, tens of thousands, and hopefully also millions of users. So how can we actually monitor the usage level with so many customers?
In my companies, as I mentioned earlier, we decided to adopt a platform that monitors the level of usability. For example, identify low usage, whether it's an outcome of a sudden usage drop or low usage from day one. And we will discuss shortly how to define low usage. Once low level of usage is identified, the platform alerts the customer and our account manager responsible for that specific customer. In parallel, customer success analyzes the reason for the low usage and the results. The result is a set of recommendations to the customer what to change in order to improve the level of usability, or if we identify a problem with the product, obviously to fix it. It is important to note that I refer to the situation in which we have hundreds or thousands of customers, all of whom are medium or large businesses. When it comes to end customers or small businesses, so-called micro businesses or SOHO, small office, home office, in these cases, it is possible to reach millions of customers and more, and then the need is for different platforms, which we will not discuss in this session.
What were the main requirements for this infrastructure platform?
We defined the following required functions. The first required function is real-time tracking of usability, meaning number of transactions performed during a given time. Secondly, monitoring the quality of use. We talked about the need to monitor functions usability, which functions are used more and which are used less. Another important requirement is the initiation of an alert for both the customer and the account manager in the case the level of use is lower than the nominal value, and these values can be defined in several ways, and I will address it shortly. Similarly, initiate internal alert to the quality manager and the product manager if any process as part of the product has not been successfully completed. The information is automatically fed into the product manager and the QA group manager, and from there they will handle it. Another very important requirement is the ability to define a dashboard by a group of customers. The goal with this requirement is to create profile so that each profile defines a group of customers that we expect their usage profile to be similar. So if we detect in relation to a specific group a lower usage by say X%, we can set an alarm. Let's consider an example of a retail chain. So if we identify that shops in geographic region, say Europe, which sell cell phones, all have same subscription license and employ say 3 to 5 employees. In those specific shops, based on historical data, we expect this group to have similar usage profile. Now, let's take the example one step further. So if the information we have is that the stores in the profile we are testing, the daily usage amount or the average usage amount of transaction per day is 30, and we recognize that out of 5,000 stores, which are all from the same profile group, in 60 stores, the number of transactions are less than 6, meaning less than 20% of the average target, then there is a high probability that something is not right in those 60 stores. And this will be analyzed by the customer success group. The bottom line, the result of the company overall investment in customer success, whether in infrastructure or in people, is all channeled to achieve increase in the percentage of license renewal. This is our target.
So we've already mentioned that we will discuss in a separate session how to calculate this renewal rate. You're welcome to stay tuned. So in summary, the customer success function is there in order to ensure the customer is successfully using the product. Since then, it creates a stronger level of dependency between the customer's business activity and the product, and hence increases the chance for subscription renewal. Customer success performance is determined by the level of license renewal rate. It's important to monitor all the major aspects which impact licenses renewal, understand them, so we can provide our customers either with solutions or ideas to resolve them, even in cases where the reasons for low usage are not under our control. This is the opportunity to invite you all to our website, yedacenter.com, to hear and view both podcasts and video addressing management and technology topics. Thank you, Yehuda Holtzman, for joining us.
Thank you, Yael.